when you wrote and you came out, that's when really the transitioning was happening where we weren't just blocking forces for blue and green. You guys
Yeah.
were starting to take missions like because I don't know whether and you hear stories from other Rangers and your stories from GWAT vets in the SOCOM world. Well, green and blue
Mhm.
were getting too pretentious. The high value targets weren't high value enough. So
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
red, which is the rent raid, would come in and say, well, fine, we'll take it.
We'll take them. Yeah.
And that's when you were in, and that's your books. That's to me when I read it, that's like this is when the transition started to happen, where the Rangers started to be
Yeah.
not just hey, we're just going to go protect Delta and rescue the SEALs when they get, which we still do. It's they still,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it was like
Yeah.
we're going to do our own missions. And but am I wrong in that, or did you see
No.
did you experience that transition, and how did that change the regiment when you were there, man? When that started
Yeah.
to happen?
I got there. I guess the transition had already happened, maybe
Okay.
by like a year. Um, like my team leader, he was in during the invasion, and they were not doing the type of operations we started doing by the time I got there.
Yep.
So I would say I was about a year in when that transition happened, and dude, my first train up in regiment was like airfield seizure. We did that, I believe, twice that year.
Sure.
And my first time lacing up boots in battalion, it was day one. Hey, we're going to do, jump out of planes and do an airfield seizure. Then we got platoon evals and all these things that,
Yep.
train ups. And it was brutal, but getting overseas, it was more kinetic, I believe. Like
Yeah.
if you want to call it that, it wasn't so we're just going to do this objective and we're going to use an entire platoon to set up a blocking position and use machine guns and fire
Yeah. Yeah.
support by fire lines. It was totally different. It was somewhat a little bit like that, but the like you would hit that objective and you'd move on to another one and then another one after that. It was way more kinetic. And the way in which it the mission planning. Sometimes you wouldn't have time to plan a mission. It was extremely kinetic and moving targets.
Sure.
Midway through my deployments, it was like my third deployment. We were doing, it was pretty intense, like 100 plus missions in 90 days or 120 or whatever missions in 100 days or whatever. It really picked up and we was doing like my first deployment, my second deployment in Iraq. I remember one of the Delta guys, I believe it was their commander. I don't know. He had a rank, and I'm like a fairly cherry new guy sitting at the talk trying to watch, I don't know, Anchorman or something like that. And this dude comes in with camouflage I've never seen and a beard. He's short, stocky guy, and his gun looks pretty cool, and he looks like a badass dude. And he walks over, he asks, he's like, "Hey, who's in charge here?" I stand up and point him into the right direction, and he starts like shaking his hand and wanted to say that the mission we had just did. I had no idea the significance of it until hours later at the Chow Hall. We watched it on CNN. It was like the number one, two guy in this region in Iraq or whatever. And Delta had passed it on to us because they went on to do another hit
Sure.
simultaneously during that time. And like we ended up helping Delta take out, and it was a badass mission. And like that's when I noticed the change of we were doing way more like focused on high value targets and
Sure.
direct action raids. It 98% of the stuff that we did was under the cover of darkness, night action raids, 4 to 8 hours, you're in a target, off the target, processing all the stuff that you have back at base and you've turned in the prisoners and everything like that. It was it was fun, man. It was fun. It was different from the stories that I heard of the Rangers before me, like at Haditha Dam and
Yeah. Yeah.
during the invasion. It was
Yep.
way different than that. It was what I dreamed of reading all the books. It was and watching the Charlie Sheen movies and Chuck Norris Delta Force movies. It was like
Yeah.
minus, I mean, dude, we even had mini bikes, man. Like
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Chuck Norris, minus the rockets, but it was like a dream, dude. It was like a dream. And like you feel like being that young for me doing that stuff, it felt like, you know, dude, you're invincible,
Yeah.
like you're it's all the stuff that you played in the backyard as a kid. It's actually happening now. It felt good, man. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it.
People don't understand that, but it is a love, man. You love you
Yeah,
see things that you're right. You see things that you're like, man, I read about this. This is actually happening. Or
yeah,
man, that's what somebody who blows up really looks like. Wow. Or
yeah.
yeah. I'm not trying to romanticize it because there is some awfulness in
No,
it too. People are dying,
yeah,
but there is something like war is kind of a beautiful thing if
yeah,
you can put
yeah,
it into
yeah.
context. As far as well, it's war. Well,
Yeah.
that man, that damn Dishka just took out that side of that building. Holy shit, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That J dam just blew the
Uh-huh.
roof. And you're seeing it because you're
Yeah.
seeing it from the sniper section recon perspective. So you're able to take,
Mhm.
and that's what I was going to ask you next. You're able to take
Yeah.
like the whole battle space in. What's that like when you're out there and you're doing your thing, but now all of a sudden there's a huge where a J dam or something hits, and you're able just to watch all of it unfold.
Yeah. The
How
first
does that make you feel, man? Do you feel like Navy SEAL Charlie Sheen? You feel like Bill Paxton saying, "I'm God"? Yeah,
no,
yeah, right.
I wanted, dude, I wanted to, but no, I was like, dude, to be honest, like my lifelong dream since I was in the sixth grade was to be a sniper, a Navy SEAL sniper at the time.
Was there any
It
reason why?
almost,
Was it like a particular movie? Was it anything? Because
yeah,
I at sixth grade, that's an early time period.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was, dude, I was already terrible at school, you know? Like that was my only option. Both my parents were in the army, and I was like, there's nowhere else I have to go.
gotcha.
You know, and yeah. So I would say Charlie Sheen and the movie Sniper were really big, but that wasn't until I would
That's
say
right.
Charlie Sheen was my first big impact on Navy SEALs. And then by the time I got into high school, I was watching Navy SEAL Discovery Channel documentaries and
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
and I was hooked, bro.
Which,
And
by
that's
the
just,
way, because I know your story so well, like
yeah,
knowing you all these years, so your dream, because I do know, was right to be a Navy SEAL sniper, and then they
yeah,
said you're colorblind, we can't take you.
yep, yep, yep. The day I went to go like sign or take the I took the ASVAB, and then I went to go do like all the medical stuff, and like I passed everything, and dude, I have like flat feet and stuff, and I even tried to like make my foot arched and shit, but it didn't work. But dude, I was trying everything I could to be accepted into the Navy. I was in Navy Sea Cadet in Annapolis, the Navy Sea Cadet Corps. I went to the Baby SEAL program. Dude, I was
Yeah.
prepped. I even had a Navy SEAL shirt, you know, and I just didn't wear it out in public. And I don't know, maybe once or twice. Yes, I'm a Navy SEAL at 16. But dude, I was that kid and took the Easy Horror color vision test. And all I remember was looking at 14 different. I still have the medical
Yep.
thing for it. It was 14 pictures, and the only picture I saw was the picture you're not supposed to see. And every time she turned the page, I was like, I don't know, but I noticed it, bro. Um, Standing in line, the guys in front of me, I started to look at the little circle thing with colors on it, and I'm like, dude, I don't see anything. Maybe I'm just too far away. Maybe it's
So
like
you
that
you didn't even
three
know you were
dimensional.
colorblind till you got till I mean, really?
Had
Are you?
no idea,
Holy
no
cow!
idea.
Wow.
I thought what we were looking at were those old books that they pop
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
You
yeah,
flip
yeah,
those. Remember
yeah,
those
yep, yep,
books?
yep, yep. I
I
remember.
thought it was like that. So I'm like, well, maybe I just have to sit a little closer or be closer. So I get like one guy is in front of me and he's reading it off, and I'm like, I still don't see anything, man. Let me just try to remember what this guy is saying. And I go up there and they go to the first page, and I'm like 12, 14. I don't know what the number was. And I just remember the person who is holding the big book thing, he closes it again. Like that was odd. And then he opens it again. I'm like, well, yeah, it's whatever number that is. And then turns the page slowly. And I'm like, I start to try to think about what the guy in front of me said. So I'm calling out stuff. And then I'm just like, I don't see anything. And he closes the book and he sends me to another room. And that's where I get told that I have 0 out of 14 of the color vision test. So I went home, I cried, went home, and I went on the old dial up internet, modem,
Yeah, modem.
internet.
Hey,
Dude,
If Harold can do it, do the dial up like the old modem sound.
Yeah, yeah.
Our
yeah,
editor, if he can put that in there, yeah.
dude, I went home and I tried to study for all the possible combinations that I could find on the computer at the time of the easy horror test.
Okay.
So I try to memorize them. They show you a picture and I don't see the answer, and you click answer and it gives you the answer. I'm like, okay, well, I think I can see where they got that from. I just don't see it. So I try to memorize all these little patterns. And I went back a month or two later and take the color vision test again. But this time it's not an easy horror test. It's this lights on a bar or something.
Okay.
And I was screwed because whatever color the lights were, I wasn't calling them out correctly. I couldn't tell what color they were. And I failed that one. And I'm crying again. But this nurse next door, she hears it. She comes in and she's like, weren't you here like last time? And I was like, yes, ma'am. And she pulls me into her office and she says, I'm gonna help you out. And she pulls out her easy horror test and she starts going through it, but tracing her finger on what the numbers are. And I got 14 out of 14. The only stipulation was I can only join the Army. The Army had no idea that I was colorblind. It was the Navy or something like that. So the Army accepted me for not being colorblind and perfect vision. But yeah, I don't even know where I was going with that story, but that's
Now,
my color vision.
how did what I got a question if you're going that way or not. Did
Yeah,
you join the Army? Did you do a RIP contract or
I
maybe
did.
was it right? So you did that. You're like, well, where can I be a sniper? And they're like, well, go
Exactly.
join the Rangers, go through the range. Was it RIP or RASP? I know it's called RASP or
RIP.
something now. It was
It
RIP
was
at
RIP.
that time. Still
Yeah.
RIP. Okay.
I went in and sitting with the recruiter, I said, what's the closest thing that you guys have to Navy SEALs? And he's like, well, we have Green Berets and Rangers. But my Green Beret ASVAB score was not high enough unless I wanted to take it again. And I was like, dude, I'm not going to run the risk of failing this thing.
Yeah.
I was like, give me, what are Rangers? And he's like, well, they're like Navy SEALs, but they just don't swim. I was like, well, okay, I can do that. And he signed me up, bro. Option 40 Ranger contract. And
Sweet.
that was like, and then, oh, he had said they were in Black Hawk Down. And I was like, I don't really want to do that though. I don't want to, they don't look like they have that much fun. And he's like, no, they're like Navy SEALs, but they just don't swim. And I was on my way to Fort Benning, Georgia, man. And that was like the only taste I have of or had of what a Ranger was. But
So
it
you
was
know what
everything.
That's freaking
Yeah,
amazing. I mean,
I'm
that's
sorry.
a great story,
Finish what you were
man.
saying
That's
because I have another
amazing.
But he
thing
was
that I was
right.
wondering
He was
now.
right. He was right though. It was like it was better than being a Navy SEAL, in my opinion. We just didn't have to swim. That's
So
I
how
yeah,
agree.
what I
I
was
felt
gonna
it.
say though is
Agree.
we got to this how you said that you grew up at a really young age wanting to be a sniper.
Mhm.
So what I was wondering, were you shooting at a young age? Like because
Oh,
you're
yeah.
you're obviously extremely
Yeah.
talented at it. So
Dude, yeah, I was sneaking out my pellet rifle and stuff, shooting out the lights and the street lights in our neighborhood. But it would amaze me because I would never ever see who would replace them. And me and my wife had this conversation like a while ago. I'm like, have you ever seen someone change out the street light ever in your life? And she's like, you know what? I don't think I have. And I'm like, I for sure haven't. And I used to shoot them out as a kid. And I still to this day have never
He's-
seen a dude
You're
in my
right.
neighborhood changing the street lights.
Holy shit. I want everybody out there that's listening to this. If there's somebody that has seen somebody train us, you send us an email because I mean, I never thought about it, but yeah,
Dude, and
man,
they stay on all night.
all
And
the time.
like, what light bulbs are they using? Because I want them in my home. You know, I've never seen them changed out, even when I would shoot them out. So
That's
I don't know.
hilarious.
But I was like practicing with BB guns, and the first gun I ever shot my granddad, it was a 12 gauge, no, a 20 gauge shotgun. And I was a
Jeez.
teenager. I was maybe not a teenager, I was maybe 12, going on 13, maybe. I was young. I was just entering like teenhood. And that was my, you know,
Yeah.
welcome to teenager was to
Did
shoot a shotgun.
did you stand
In
up?
the
I mean,
country.
did it knock you down? That's a big 20 gauge is a big gun.
No, it didn't knock me down. I just remember not liking it. I didn't like the recoil of it. And it was the first gun I'd ever shot that was, had power to it. Before that was like a little 22 and stuff like that, and my pellet rifle. But I kind of, I guess, got hooked around, I don't know, my like going into middle school, my middle school years, shooting like 22s and stuff like that. But I never shot a high caliber, rifle, AR. I never shot an AR. I never shot a, you know, machine gun, anything like that, or
But
I just
you grew up in Texas, right? So I mean, all of it was
no, I
legal,
grew up
right?
in Maryland. I grew
Oh,
up
I
in
didn't
Maryland.
realize
We would
that.
travel. What's that?
I didn't realize that. I thought you grew up in Texas. I just
Yeah.
know you as being in Texas.
Yeah, I've lived here since 2000, and when did we move here? 2000, no, I not 2010.
But that makes
Or
sense
yeah,
because like
2010.
Maryland shooting is not really part of the culture.
No, I had to go to court for shooting, bro. Back then. It was I would go down to Georgia. So my mom's family is all from Georgia, and we would travel to Georgia from Maryland. We would make it a family trip every summer to drive down and stay there all summer. And they live in this small place called Hogansville. It's a dirt road. It's nothing out there. Uh, it was just a small little country area in Georgia. And about 2 hours, I would say. I don't know, 40. I forget how far away it is from Columbus, but it was yeah, a little small country area, and we would go out there every summer, and that's when I started to like pick up shooting a little bit more frequently. But I was never like I was good. I could shoot birds and squirrels and stuff. My granddad would take us hunting when we got a little bit older, but I was never like an amazing shot. I just knew I could shoot animals and stuff. I wasn't like
Yeah, yeah.
keyholing targets at like no. 100 yards, not even 100 yards, dude. Like I don't think I've ever shot that far prior to joining the
You're in the army.
army.
Hey,
Yeah.
you got through RIP. I mean, if you have any stories from RIP, I'd love to hear them, man. But if you don't, we can skip. But
Dude, mine was just all it was a beat down, just a beat down.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't the only story I guess I have from RIP that I would remember, it's like we were at Cole Range. We marched out
oh,
and we were out there for like 3 days or two.
yeah.
I forget how long we were out there at this moment when this happened, but I remember being exhausted, hurt. Everything was cramping. I had prickly heat on my back,
Oh, man.
and I've never experienced that. Shin splints, and dude, it was brutal. But I remember them putting us on the back of the big deuce and a half
Yep.
truck to drive us back. They lowered the tarp on it, and we drove around for a little bit. And we're all pumped up thinking that we're going to make it back. And the class was really short. We started with like 85 something guys and graduated 6 of the original, but 7 with one rollover. We
Wow.
dwindled down. It was by the time we had finished Darby. They opened up the tarp after like a 30-minute drive, and we're right back at Coal Range, and it was all a mind game. And dude, I remember guys pouring off the truck like in tears, bro, crying and just quitting. It was bad. I wanted to quit, and it had hot dogs and by a big fire, a burn barrel
Yep.
fire, and coffee, and dude, smelled so good. And yeah, they kept us out there and continued the beat down, man. That was a
Pe pe
brutal
People
experience.
don't know RIP. They think Rangers. They think Rangers, and they have no idea what RIP.
Too
And that's all.
different.
That's all RIP was.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I didn't really learn shit except
I didn't
to,
learn anything, bro. And,
you
and
just
that's
three
why they
weeks.
went over to class. That's why they had to. All I knew was I can I can do push-ups until my arms fall off. I can run to the wind stops blowing. And dude, it's I have endurance. Like I won't quit. That's what the only thing I guess I could say I learned is that no matter how bad the pain
You
is
get through it.
and the influence around you and people quitting, like I won't, even if I want to quit, I just have too much pride or ego to quit. And that's the guys that they're looking for. They don't want guys who
Yeah.
are going to quit easily or when things get tough. So that I took that away from it. But as far as how to breach a door, clear a room, dude, none of that.
No.
Nothing.
And is that why they probably changed to because you guys
Yes.
because the battle rhythm was so quick that
Hmm.
you may be a battalion and you may be deploying, and if you don't know just the basics of being a ranger, you're going to
Yeah,
get somebody killed. So that's why they moved it to that 8 week. Is it 8 or 9? Something, I don't, 9 weeks.
I
It's
have no
long,
idea. It's longer. Yeah.
but it's to teach them the skills that we would normally get as a private
Yep.
back in the old days when we had time to go through rotary wing or fixed wing bilats and learn all the stuff
Hmm.
that rangers do. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I do remember the 3 weeks was just, it was like Navy Hell Week times
Yep.
three. That's what I
Yeah,
would
there
say.
you go. Dude, I'm saying, yeah, we just didn't swim, but it's hell week. It's hell week, bro. There's no beach. There's no you get cold, wet, sandy, but
Yeah.
there's just no ocean to swim in. But it is hell week. And I'm like, dude, the Navy SEAL Hell Week, they have weekends off or nights
They get
off or whatever it was. Dude, dude,
and
it
they
was just
and they get to eat, man. They do.
and
They
yeah,
may
you
not
get to
sleep,
eat.
but you get to eat a
Yep.
shitload of food. All the
Yeah, dude.
rip
It
rip
was
that they would bring the hot, like I said, bring the hot dogs out, and you could smell it. We could eat a little bit.
yeah,
They
a
would,
little bit.
but it wasn't. Yeah. Well, you got the battalion. When going to sniper section, or did they have the
Mhm.
sniper platoon? Because it changed off and on, where they just
Yeah.
had a section that was part of headquarters company. Then you guys had a whole platoon. And what was it
Mhm.
like when you got there? Were they moving to morphing to their own platoon, or did they still have a small section company with headquarters? And how did you get into it? Because that's an elite thing.
Yeah.
You don't just go to sniper section when you go to battalion. You've
No.
got to earn your stripes.
Yeah. It was I got into battalion. I did 2 deployments, went to Ranger School, got out, and but I had created such a bond with the guys in Weapon Squad, and I was in Weapon Squad before that, and went machine gunner and machine gun team leader and all that, and had a bond with the guys, and I wanted to go to sniper section after I graduated, but I had to ask my wife. I was like, man, I don't want to leave my guys. Like I love my guys. And if I feel like I'm gonna be leaving them if I try to go to sniper section. And she's like, I think you should still do it. So I said, okay, I'm gonna do it. Went on, did the tryouts at the time for sniper section. It was just you have like a little mini selection, like you do your PT test and make sure that you can do your physical activities and whatnot. And the only part that I guess stood out the most was the psychological evaluation portion of it.
Okay.
Talking to a psych, then you take this long, dude, it's like 6 hours long, this mental test, this psychological test. That was a weird one. And we took another psychological evaluation. And then we had a board where all the snipers that had been there for a while sat on a table, and you had the sniper platoon leader sit on a table, and they interview you like for a job. Um, Ended up getting selected, and I went to 75th or HHC headquarters, and it was, you could call it a platoon. It was more like a section. It was like less than 14 guys total for
Okay.
all the battalion to made it to snipers. And then next door we had the dog guys and the recce guys and RD guys or RC that I never saw except for like one time. The one time I did see one of those guys, I didn't know who it was. He picked me up I was walking back from the PX and it was raining. And he's like, hey, Ranger, get in. I got in. It was like, this guy must know somebody. But he had a beard and
Yeah.
long hair. And he's like, who's your platoon sergeant? I told him, and I was like, how do you know all this stuff? And he drops me off and he pulls in. I'm like, who is that guy? He's like, oh, he's at RRC. And I'm like, what is that? And looked it up and I was like, oh, those guys are like Delta, and
They're
you have
the
no idea who these, to this day, I don't know who these or what they do. I did one mission with them, and all I know is that they haloed in and we picked them up on some trucks and dropped them off somewhere. And that's all I know. But these guys are like spooky, secret. I know they're good. I know they're good. But yeah, went into sniper section. Um, did a mock sniper school. They wanted like a really good pass rate by the time you go over
So
the
is
sniper
this is
school.
75th running it, or are you going through like as group? Is group running it, or are you going through like a
70,
unit? 75th running their own sniper
yeah,
school. Gotcha, gotcha. Okay,
yep.
cool.
To like a prep school, like before you go into the actual U.S. Army sniper school, and that's where we learn stalking and your, basic mathematicals, your equations, and fundamentals of shooting again. Um, you can hold a group with your M4 at the 100 yards, 25, whatever it was, and
Sure.
make sure you can still hold the group within the weapons capabilities. And once you are they're successful with all that, they send you off to sniper school, and that was an 8-week course. I take that back, dude. My time's messed up. Before I went to sniper school, we went to these civilian run courses out in Kingsville, Texas, and we went to one in NTC, California, or in this NTC, right?
Fort Ord, NTC, yeah, you out of Fort Ord,
Yeah.
National Training. Yep, yep, yep.
And they have like mountains out there and hills, and we did like high angle stuff. And the one in Kingsville, we did an extreme long range, and we were, we did a lot of shooting before going to sniper school, and went through different like, programs and schools that were civilian run, but 75th and the Army had sanctioned them. Then I went to sniper school after that. That was the 8-week course, and dude, that was not bad. It was like not what I expected. It wasn't I thought it was gonna be way more shooting, and it really was more stalking, target detection, more of like the ins and outs of what it really is to be a sniper. I thought it was just gonna be learning how to shoot really, really good. Like to get there, you can already shoot, but it's the everything else, the 90% of the other stuff that really makes you a good sniper is what they harp on. And they had incorporated like an urban portion into that sniper school because of, Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff like that. But passed it, and dude, it was all in all like a really good school. But I think applying it overseas was where everything kind of came together. And like the weight of my job really came into it put everything into perspective. Like you don't realize as a kid wanting to be a sniper and becoming one that like people's lives are in your is in your hand,
Yeah.
and you have to know your job, and you have to be good at your job because you could get someone killed or may miss something. So it really settled in being deployed as a sniper, first mission on the ground, and having to engage. But like I never felt if I'm being honest, I never felt like I was good enough, Like I didn't feel like like they're trusting me and another guy to plan our own stuff, go over here and do this thing. Dude, I'm like, I don't think I'm really that qualified to do this job, but you know what? We'll go for it. But I felt like that throughout my entire career when I held like the rank of, especially team leader, and when I became a sergeant.
Yeah.
It was I never felt that I was a great leader. Guys loved me. They followed me. I just never felt comfortable with telling someone something else to do. And if I hadn't done it, or I'm not willing to like be right there with you. And prime example, me and my spotter, Pemberton, Mike, he's after every mission, we would have our AAR personally and stuff like that. And after an engagement, I'm, being personal with him, like, dude, did I look like I was freaking out to you? Because I was freaking the fuck out. And he's like, no, bro, your face was calm. I'm like, no way. I was freaking out. He's like, what did I look like? I'm like, dude, I was trying to emulate you. You looked like you knew what you were doing and everything you had under control and like your emotions. He's like, no, dude, I was following you. I was freaking out. I'm like, I was freaking out too, man. But that's how I felt the majority of my career was. I always felt like I was freaking out, not freaking out, but just not. I don't think no amount of training is going to prepare you to be comfortable, I guess you could say, with it being
Sure.
you know what I mean? It's hard to explain, man. It's never felt like I was good enough.
It's
I
that
just felt like the guys trusted me to do a job, and I did it to the best of my ability. But I was never like, hey, I'm really a great epic. I
well,
always felt like I was
you
just doing my
can't.
job.
You have you don't. If you have an ego, then you're not going to be worrying about the other guys. You're worrying about yourself more.
Uh,
And you had that responsibility. To me, that's a heck of a lot of responsibility. And you guys did, man. We depended on our marksmen. We depended on DDMs, not just
yeah.
to shoot. It was, hey, who's coming, man? You're our eyes, man.
Mm-hmm,
What do
mm-hmm.
you? And that's I guess is that probably what you were getting at as far as when you went through the Army sniper courses? They're
Yeah,
teaching
yeah,
you
yeah,
really, hey man, we
yeah.
need your eye. Yeah, I need you to shoot, but you need to tell
Hmm.
me if there's people moving, and you got to be able to call in air support too. That's just a huge
Yeah,
responsibility.
I've had to call in. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And that was like your platoon evals and stuff, and like being a ranger, and we all had to qualify at that time for our EIB,
Yep.
expert infantry badge, and that was one of the portions on there, like calling in for air support and
Yeah.
medevac, 9-line medevacs and all that stuff. So I was extremely thankful for how much battalion would like harp on stuff like that for the new guys, and they wanted every guy to be able to, hey, call in a medevac, or call in for some air support if you have to pick up the radio and be able to call in for air
Be able
support,
to bracket in mortar rounds, be able to
bracket
call in
mortar
field
strikes.
artillery. I mean, you don't think
Exactly.
about that, but yeah, that's a
Yep.
and but when it with the line guys are like myself, when it came down to that, it's like, well, if that happens and I got to do that, my mortar team's
Mm-hmm.
gone and my snipers are
Mm-hmm.
gone, so we're pretty
Mm-hmm.
much fucked. So I'll
Yeah.
learn
Yeah.
it, but that's the is you did this and that, but that's what made the sniper section special and made it more
Mm-hmm.
selective. Is you guys had more responsibility. So to hear you say that though, because I never got that from reading a book or even just I know you and I never really talked just first, but just the things I've seen that you were never in control of the situation. So that honestly, that's interesting
Yeah.
to hear because you don't come off that way as holy crap, I don't have control. It's not, you're always
Dude, everyone else says that about me, but dude, I will freak out, bro. And I just don't show it. I think, yeah, I just think I have a really good poker face. I don't know how to play poker though.